we need to do things that we don't necessarily want to do for the sake of science. So I've had a question of how did some new pigments called Permablend react under the laser, and if they're easy to take off or not. And the truth is that I don't know. So I've asked my friend Cami to tattoo a brow on my leg. Cami, say hello.
Hi. Put my gloves on.
And that's the only way I'm going to find out how these particular pigments react. So I'll show you how we're going to. I'm going to show you how this is going to look after we tattoo this brow on my leg. All in the name of. Okay, so Cami is doing a brow. Ow. Ouch. How do you guys do this on your face? I mean, it's impossible. Carry on, don't worry, don't mind me, I'm just a wimp. It's all in the name of science. So what I'll be doing is I'm going to wait a month or so, and then I'm going to just laser this off to see how the Permablend pigments react under the laser. And I'll do a little video out about that as well. Okay, we'll leave it here. Okay, I'm back. Now, it's been nearly a year since Cami tattooed that brow on my leg, and it's still there. Why? Because I'm chicken. I'm not really good with pain, in case you didn't notice from the ouching and wincing from when Cami was actually tattooing the brow on my leg. So I'm now going to stop this video and put on my big girl panties, and I'm going to laser this brow off to see how it reacts. And I'll see you here in a little bit. Bye. Okay, this is going to be really shaky because I'm actually holding the phone and I'm chicken. So we're going to try to be as brave as possible. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and this is actually turning bright red. I can't believe how brave I am. So this is a color that actually is going to be really difficult to remove. It's going to take a good 5 to 10 more sessions to be able to get this off of my skin. I'm on my way home. Yesterday I tested these colors on my leg that I purposely tattooed on my leg, and some of you might be asking, why has it taken a year? First of all, because I'm chicken, I don't like pain, and laser tattoo removal is painful. Actually getting it on my leg was painful, so never mind taking it out with a laser. And second, these colors are meant to be permanent colors, so they're meant to be very similar to the type of pigments or inks that are used on the body, and I've never had any problems removing anything from the body. So I just didn't feel it was priority, and it wasn't until yesterday I had a client and she said to me, this has happened, it's turned red elsewhere, so I know that it's reacting in this way, but the laser technician didn't know how to handle it, and this is what was used on me. And that's when the penny dropped, because originally I had seen this happening with pigments from the Middle East and from China, not necessarily low quality pigments, but there was something about the formulations of these pigments that made them do this. But if you it was just few and far between, and if you had laser tattoo removal classes with me, I would have mentioned that this can happen, but I would have said, you know what, it happens just once in a long while. I wouldn't worry too much about it, and if it happens, just call me and I'll tell you how to get around it. But now we seem to be getting it all the time, to the point where I have actually changed our consultations to say this could happen, and the only way we're going to know is by doing a test patch. So and what is the difference? The difference is that rather than me being able to remove microblading or a brow in my average is 1, 2, 3, 4 treatments. This can be doubled or tripled. So the client, can it be removed? Yes, I can do it. However, the client should be made aware that the pigments that you're using are, in the event that they want removal, are going to be a little bit more tricky to remove. And the reason it's important is because there is a law in England, at least, and I'm pretty sure in America it's the same thing, that it's the law of informed consent. So if you say to the client, look, I'm using these pigments and they're fantastic and they fade really well, and we get nice crisp strokes, but should you ever want to remove this, you're going to have more problems. And as long as you're telling your client signing for this, you're covering yourself legally. Also, make sure that your insurance is aware that this happens and they are willing to cover you, because you would never want to be doing anything without insurance, because you know we have families and houses, and we don't want to end up in court and not have legal representation. And the other thing that is important to understand is that there is a big difference between brows turning red over a long period of time. This is what traditionally has happened with the older colors, with titanium base colors, and these are Li pigments. Most pigments have at some point had this problem, although in later years they have stabilized the pigments massively. But we're still getting back orange brows, red brows from 10 years ago. And these are actually not a problem to remove. These are those red brows, those orange brows that have oxidated over a long period of time. We put the laser in, they turn gray, 3 more treatments, boom, and they're gone. And sometimes the client is even happy after 1 treatment, because if the shape is good, once it goes more of a gray brown color, happy days, they're happy, they don't want any more treatments. What I'm talking about is when we put the laser in and some kind of a chemical reaction happens and they turn instantly, as you've just seen. Those are the ones that are difficult to remove. The other thing that's very odd is everybody knows I'm chicken. Anybody that's ever seen me worked on my face at all knows that I'm the biggest coward. And the other thing too that I thought was very odd is actually it didn't really hurt very much. So the ink wasn't actually exploding under the laser. And that worries me, because in the past I know that I need to use a 532 wavelength in order to shift this red, but the 532 is very, very melanin hungry. So if it has to be done with a great deal of care, because you're much more likely to take somebody's melanin and have the ghosting effect, especially if your client is from a darker skin tone. So this is something that really needs to be done by somebody who's very experienced or well trained in this specific area. So it's not only that we are having to treat the client 2 or 3 times longer, but sadly we have to use a wavelength that is not quite as safe as if we were just using the traditional titanium based pigments. And there has been a lot of propaganda against titanium based pigments, but I can only speak from a removal point of view. I don't have an issue removing reds or pinks that have come up over a long period of time. What I am having problems removing is when we get the situation where the laser turns it bright red or bright orange immediately. It's becoming a huge problem, and I'm seeing so much of it now. So the two that we have tested, the one that was on my leg was Permablend Ebony, and in the video that you've seen that it has just turned red immediately. And the color that this client came in yesterday, which is what made everything kind of fall into place, was Tina Davis Bold Brown. I'm going to want to test colors. So as soon as I get back to my office, some of you might know that we represent Micropigmentation Center Pigments in the UK, which is why I'm actually a bit uncomfortable about doing this, because some people may accuse me of having a conflict of interest. But I'm going to treat our pigments exactly the same way. I'm going into the office where I'm going to test our pigments and let you know how they react under the laser. And I'm going to also ask my wonderful network of technicians to send me in the pigments that they use so I can test them, so that they can know and use their pigments with confidence. You might be thinking, if you're a technician, actually I'm really good at my craft, I'm really good at what I do, but please know that I would say 50% of what I get through is old brows that have just faded and the client doesn't want them anymore. And another 40% is clients that just look in the mirror and said, I hate it. And I say to them, actually, they're really nice. It's really good work. The tech hasn't done anything wrong. And only about 10% of my work is actually botched brows. So just because you're a good tech doesn't mean that your clients in the future are not going to want removal. So make sure that you tell them, if you're using, now we know that these two pigments do this, if you're using these, make sure that you tell them that this will happen, so that they can make an informed decision as to what goes in their skins and in their bodies. And you'll hear more from me in a little while, because I'm gonna do more videos as I get around to testing more pigments. And I'm hoping that the companies that are manufacturing pigments will be happy to collaborate, so that we can bring the best possible products to the marketplace that are not just safe for the clients, but also safe for the technicians to use, because technicians are devoted and they use these pigments in good faith. But as we know, we never know with a product line how they're going to come back and what's going to happen 5, 6, 7 years down the line. So these are things that we have as an industry to work together, and hopefully there are ways to formulate these pigments so that this doesn't happen, and that would be amazing. So anyways, I leave you with this, and if you have any questions, just put them in the comments and I will answer as much as I can, and hopefully other technicians from all over the world will get on this bandwagon and answer them.